Hey guys, Hop here for tfbtv. I survived SHOT Show 2023 and I'm about to make it everybody else's problem. I just got back from SHOT Show and I barely even got the plague this year, which is fantastic. Turns out the trick is to get really sick 2 weeks before SHOT Show, so by the time you go, you're already immune to everything that's going around. This is the time of year when we normally do our SHOT Show wrap-up videos. James Reeves loves his top 5 videos. I racked my brain trying to come up with top 5 in any category, and the closest I got was optics. I could come up with like 3 optics for a top 5 list. That was it. Couldn't think of top 5 guns in any category whatsoever. Every year, SHOT Show has a sort of unofficial theme where all the manufacturers are catching up to whatever the current zeitgeist is. Last year, it was a whole bunch of pistol caliber carbines that nobody asked for, and the last few companies finally trickling out their double stack micro 9mm compact to try to catch up with the SIG 365. This year, I think I only saw one double stack micro compact. I believe it was a Stoeger STR9 derivative. Everybody else got that out of their system last year. This year's theme was fun retro throwback guns on the one side and 3D printed suppressors on the other. It seemed like basically every company now has a suppressor. Almost all of them are using 3D printed cores because 3D printing allows them to create extremely complicated internal baffle geometry to make the cans have reduced back pressure and also increased performance versus traditional flow-through cans. As far as the retro stuff goes, we saw extremely strong showings from actual retro throwback guns like the H&R series from PSA, and we also saw a lot of just kind of goofy fun stuff like lever actions that feed from banana mags and retro style PCC, stuff like that. So those were our show themes. Let's get into the actual SHOT Show awards for 2023, starting with, of course, the most important one, biggest booth. The SHOT Show 2023 Biggest Booth Award goes to Christensen Arms. Apparently, it is tradition for them to have a massive booth about the size of a city block, even though they only have like 5 employees at the show. And not a lot of people seem to visit that booth either, which makes sense because Christensen Arms is far from a household name. It's a very niche company. They make high-end bolt-action rifles, right? I don't think I've ever met anybody who has owned a Christensen Arms rifle, so I don't know why they need such a humongous booth. If I was more conspiracy-minded, it might make me wonder how big the profit margins on those rifles actually are. The other problem with the booth is that it's a very poor navigational aid because every side of the booth looks like the front of the booth, so you keep approaching it and thinking, oh, here I am at the front of the Christensen Arms booth, but you're not. Day 2, we are still trapped in the Christensen Arms booth. The award for Best Booth Gimmick of SHOT Show 2023 goes to Agilite. If we had done one of these awards last year, they would have won because last year they had a little device designed to durability test their pincer mag placard. It's basically a gigantic sex machine that is conspicuously labeled as not being a sex machine that repeatedly rams a magazine into and out of one of their pincer mag placards. And you can turn the dial on it to make it go faster or slower, which is pretty excellent. This year, they took things a step further and actually brought in a claw machine filled with various tactical goodies, including, I believe, an OpsCore ballistic helmet, and I think a pair of dual-tube NVGs, which I don't think anybody won. I suspect the claw on one of those machines cannot pick up a pair of NVGs. If it did, it would then immediately drop it in a bucket, so that probably wouldn't be good anyway. Luke and I tried to play that because we really needed to win a pair of gloves for Luke, because we were going to go to a night shoot in the desert, and Luke's hands were going to freeze off because he left his gloves at home. Unfortunately, we did not win. The TFB Media Circus brings you The Vietnam War by Ken Burns. The SHOT Show 2023 award for Best Night Vision Device or Accessory goes to the EOTech OGL, which was also, I think, the only night vision accessory that I saw at the show. The HoloSun night vision and thermal reflex sights do look kind of cool, mainly because the price point is so low. If they actually manage to come out at that price point, they will be kind of interesting. But short-range thermal devices are of very limited utility. It seems like it's more of a hog hunter or hobbyist kind of thing. And the night vision sight is, of course, digital night vision. Digital night vision isn't real night vision, so I'm not particularly interested in that. Also, the battery life on digital night vision and thermal devices tends to be extremely short, and that's not the kind of thing that you want to have on a weapon sight. So, my pick is the EOTech OGL or on-gun laser. This is not an especially groundbreaking device. The main thing with the EOTech OGL is that it's a lot smaller and lighter than a MAUL, and cheaper than a MAL with similar performance to a MAL. I think I complain about this every time the subject of night vision comes up, but civilian-focused infrared laser devices are very weak because the FDA regulates the power output of infrared lasers. If you use a VCSEL vertical cavity side emitting laser, like the MAL, like the upcoming EOTech OGL, then you're able to produce quite a lot more power while still remaining with a civilian legal device. The downside to the EOTech OGL, of course, is that they don't actually really have any concrete plans for a civilian version, and the price point that they accidentally on purpose leaked before the show turned out to be about 50% low. So the EOTech OGL is going to cost a lot more than was initially anticipated. It's also probably going to take a lot longer to come out than we were all hoping. Even so, it's still going to be much cheaper than a lot of other devices on the market, while still performing extremely well, particularly for a civilian device. So I'm looking forward to it. The main reason why a MAL costs so much money is because it's got so many emitters and shit crammed into the end of it. The EOTech OGL is much smaller and simpler and lighter and cheaper and is going to work just fine if we ever get it. The award for Best New Optic of SHOT Show 2023 is a fairly contentious field because I actually saw some interesting optics this year. Once again, the HoloSun night vision and thermal devices are not on this list. Actually, nothing from HoloSun really excited me this year, which is kind of rare from HoloSun. But I did see two things that really interested me. The runner-up is the Leupold Mark V HD 2-10. This is, I think, essentially the holy grail of SPR scopes. If you're going to scope the AR-15, you probably don't really need or want magnification beyond about 10x, unless you're really just trying to punch holes in paper very precisely. Over the last couple of years, scopes have gotten bigger and heavier, and the top-end magnification just keeps going up to the point where we've got stuff like the highest magnification version of the Vortex Razor weighing in at like 3 pounds or something, which is way too much weight to put onto an AR-15, way too much weight to put on a rifle you intend to carry anywhere, and also the magnifications are just way overkill for the cartridges that we're talking about. So if you want to scope an AR-15, but you want a little bit more capability than an LPVO, that's where the 2-10 magnification range really shines. Because LPVOs have a lot of downsides. They have small objective lenses. They usually have, actually almost always have, fixed parallax. They're focused on a different kind of mission entirely. The 2-10 range is excellent. You abandon trying to get a true 1x out of your scope, and suddenly the world opens up. You can get a bigger objective lens, you can get adjustable parallax, you can get all sorts of great features that make the scope work like a real scope. It also has the perfect arrangement of controls: capped windage, locking elevation, side parallax, optional illuminated reticle. It's excellent, and also the Leupold Mark V series just has insanely good glass. Something about Leupold's glass or coatings really is just better than almost anything else you can get for the price. And after saying all of that, the Leupold isn't even the winner of the Best Optic of SHOT Show 2023. The winner is the Sig Sauer Romeo 9T, which I only got to see for a couple of minutes at the end of SIG Range Day before they turned the lights on and kicked us out. That optic got teased a while back when Garantham accidentally leaked it in one of his videos. Nice job, Mike. And I've been pretty excited for it ever since. A bunch of people sent me screenshots of that video when it came out saying, hey, check it out, SIG is going to make a holographic weapon sight. And I kept saying, no, of course they're not making a holographic weapon sight. Only EOTech and Vortex make holographics, and the Vortex one sucks. So nobody actually wants to make a holographic weapon sight. It's expensive, the technology is weird. It's going to be a red dot. Sure enough, it is a red dot, and it's also a green dot. Separate emitters controlled with separate elevation dials. So you've got a red circle dot reticle similar to the Romeo 8T, and you have a green dot reticle, which can both be controlled independently. You can toggle them off and on. You can even turn both of them on at the same time for very esoteric reasons, I'm sure. The benefit, I guess, is that this is supposed to pair well with 300 Blackout, where you're going to have two different zeros because you're effectively shooting two different cartridges. Supersonic 300 Blackout and Subsonic 300 Blackout are extremely different. Supersonic 300 Blackout is a 30 caliber rifle cartridge, and Subsonic 300 Blackout is like 45 ACP. There's a huge vertical point of impact shift between Supersonic and Subsonic 300 Blackout, but there's also a horizontal impact shift just because of the way the bullet spins coming out of the barrel at different velocities. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's not so simple as to just say, oh, 300 Blackout hits low, I'll just aim high. It doesn't work like that. You're going to hit low, and you're also going to hit left or right. So this allows you to have a red dot that is simultaneously zeroed for two different cartridges coming out of the same gun, and you can either switch the reticles back and forth, or you can keep both of them on, I guess, if you really want to just drop a mag and all of a sudden go into stealth mode or something like that. This is all very high-speed, low-drag stuff that's well above our pay grade, and the Optic is probably going to cost a shitload of money because it is essentially two Romeo 8Ts. Like the Romeo 8T, we can presume that the battery will last basically forever. We can also assume that it's going to have insanely good night vision performance. That's something SIG has been paying a lot of attention to lately. Doesn't matter because none of us are going to buy that thing. Most of us can't afford it. They might not even sell it on the civilian market. Who cares? The point is, that's the coolest optic that I've seen in a very long time. The award for most interesting new gun of SHOT Show 2023 is the Black Rain Ordnance Commando Bullpup. That thing came completely out of left field for me. Black Rain Ordnance is a company that makes custom ARs. They're kind of a holdover of Gun Culture 1.0, back when people were doing the whole zombie survival craze and battle-worn Cerakote finishes, stuff like that. American flags just fucking everywhere. Never would have expected them to come out with a new gun that looks like some kind of a sci-fi Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter bullpup thing. The Commando rifle is a super lightweight bullpup that feeds from AR-10 powder magazines, so .308 Winchester, .65 Creedmoor, other calibers of that nature, and it's still very much a prototype. So they're in the phase where they have some semi-functional prototypes to show off at the show, and they can make a lot of grandiose promises about the future of the project. I don't know if any of that stuff will end up coming true. Their price point seemed suspiciously low. Their performance claims seemed suspiciously high. If they can do even half of that stuff, that's going to be a really cool gun. But I think it could be many years before we actually see that thing come to market, if it succeeds at all. It's kind of hard to say. It's just too early to tell. The most interesting thing to me about the Commando Bullpup, aside from the lightweight nature of the rifle, is the recoil mechanism. We had to cut this part out of our interview, unfortunately due to audio issues, but the engineer described it as being a gas impingement assisted gas piston system with a 3-lug rotating bolt. Some people in the comments on that video said it sounds a little bit like the operating mechanism of the Tink Arms Perun, so there is, I guess, some engineering precedent for a recoil system of that design. Obviously, we could not take the gun apart. I don't think the versions that they had on the show floor were even fully built and fully functioning. So I'm not saying that the Black Rain Ordnance Commando Bullpup is the best gun ever made. I'm saying it's a very interesting gun that we should keep our eyes on and hope to see more from them next year. And our final award for the first annual SHOT Show Awards presented by TFBTV is the coveted Best in Show Award. What manufacturer had the strongest showing at SHOT Show 2023? And it seems pretty obvious that it was Palmetto State Armory. They have become an absolute monolith in the last couple of years. They're sort of like the good ending version of the Cerberus Group, buying up a whole bunch of companies and making them better, or allowing them to actually bring their ideas to fruition instead of just buying them and then killing them like the Cerberus Group did. PSA bought Hill & Mac Gunworks and is bringing the SGG-44 reproduction to the market after a long time, many delays, much controversy. They bought the H&R brand, and they bought Nodak Spud, the retro receiver manufacturing company, and they're bringing a whole bunch of retro ARs to the market. They also have a bunch of new models of AKs on their traditional AKM style receiver and their newer AK556 style receiver, and all sorts of calibers, 300 Blackout, 6.5 Grendel. They're doing a Krinkov. They're also coming out with new versions of the Jackal series, new calibers, new barrel lengths. That is their long stroke piston, monolithic upper, folding stock gun. Everybody loves monolithic uppers and folding stocks for reasons I will never understand. And they're also coming out with the Saber series, which they're pitching as more of a high-end or duty grade series of ARs. PSA has their fingers in so many different pies at this point that I can almost guarantee you would find something at that booth that you would want to buy. It's not all perfect though. For example, the Saber series ARs have a pretty tempting selection of parts choices at the price point they're trying to hit. They're saying it's going to be under $1,000, and they're touting a whole bunch of mil-spec and higher-end upgraded parts. That's all well and good, but the thing with PSA has never really been that the parts were bad. PSA's problem is more in quality control because there's so many guns going out the door. The Saber series rifles do look really cool, and the out-of-the-box upgrades are very tempting, but for a duty-grade rifle, I would prioritize basic components and extremely meticulous QC over fancy parts with typical PSA quality control. Also, some of those variants of the AKs don't really make a whole lot of sense to me. 300 blackout out of an AK is kind of redundant. The whole point of 300 blackout is that you can get AK ballistics out of an AR platform. To then put that back into the AK seems very strange to me. Same for 6.5 Grendel. 6.5 Grendel is supposed to be sort of a precision cartridge in a way. It's sort of a precursor to the currently popular 6mm ARC, but 6.5 Grendel's been on the outs for a while, and I'm not 100% sure what the appeal is of an AK in 6.5 Grendel, because it's not going to really give you the accuracy potential that you want because of how hard it is to scope an AK and to get a good trigger into an AK. And also the barrel length that they chose for the 6.5 Grendel is 16 inches, which is not exactly in line with what you think a 6.5 Grendel should be used for. So some of those ideas seem very much just because they can, because they're PSA. They've got fuck you money at this point, and they own basically everything. But this is still a good outcome as far as I'm concerned. If a company has to be this big and own this many sub-brands, I'm glad it's a company like Palmetto State Armory and not some kind of weird corporate investment monolith like Cerberus Group. PSA is a much better company. This is way better for the industry and way better for the community than Cerberus Group buying up a whole bunch of stuff and then closing it down because it doesn't meet profit expectations. So the real question from SHOT Show 2023 is, what would I personally spend my money on? And that's a tough one because I'm very jaded and bitter and I already own a lot of guns. So I guess it's going to be the Leupold Mark V HD 2-10 because I already have a rifle to put that on and it's the scope that I've been waiting for a very long time. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you for watching. This has been the first annual SHOT Show Awards with your host, Hop for TFBTV. I guess I'll see you in a year when I do this again. If I'm still alive, if I'm still employed, if SHOT Show still exists. TFBTV is supported by our sponsors Ventura Munitions and Top Gun Supply, and we were also sponsored for our entire SHOT Show visit by 511 Tactical. So go ahead and check all those guys out in the video description. If you'd like to support us directly, we also have links to our Subscribestar and Utreon page. You can support us directly. You get access to some behind-the-scenes stuff, as well as a whole bunch of giveaway opportunities that James Reeves puts together, as well as a secret patch club thing. I always forget to mention that because I don't get the fucking patches anymore. Thanks a lot, Luke. Anyway, check it out. I'll see you guys next time.